I'm pretty sure that the title of this video has annoyed a few people. The implication that quitting gambling, stopping gambling and getting into recovery is easy. Now let me just say up front that it's not easy in spite of the title, but it should be. And that's what I want to talk about towards the end of the video. But I wanted to get it out of the way first of all because, you know, like so many people, I've had more lapses and relapses than Katie Price has had boob jobs and traffic convictions combined. Well, maybe not that many, but I've had a hell of a lot, right? I've had a lot of lapses and relapses. So it's not easy, but it really, really should be. And one thing it certainly is simple. And I want to talk about this today because hopefully it will actually make your road to recovery a little bit more simple and a little bit more easy, because I will share with you my experiences, my pitfalls, the things that I did right, some of the things I did wrong, and maybe some of the lessons that you can learn effectively at my expense. And firstly, hi, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. Sorry for the hat, I'm having my hair cut this morning and it looks absolutely atrocious, so yeah, hence the hat. Hope you're all well. Thanks for clicking on this video, thanks for supporting me. We're dangerously close to 5,000 subscribers, so if you do watch my videos, you do think they're interesting or useful or whatever, click that subscribe button. If you want to support me as well, there will be a link to my Patreon in the description below. Really appreciate anyone who signs up to there. Like I've said in previous videos, it's effectively the virtual equivalent of saying, cheers for your advice, Phil. Have a pint on me. That's how I like to see it anyway. But onwards. I'm going to start talking about how gambling recovery is simple. And before you get annoyed, hear me out. I'm going to start by using an expression that I absolutely detest for a multitude of reasons. And that is one day at a time. Now, if you have been around gambling recovery or gambling addiction for any length of time, you almost certainly would have heard the expression one day at a time. And I think they used it for other addictions as well. Why does this expression annoy me so much? Well, firstly, I find it so cliched, and I'm not a big fan of cliches, even though I use dozens of them in my videos. But I think I find it very, very textbook, a bit sanctimonious. It's almost like the thing that you expect someone to say. It's almost the sort of thing you expect me to come out with just because I'm talking about gambling addiction, quitting gambling and gambling recovery. It's almost like I feel obligated to say, one day at a time, just take one day at a time. And at the end of every day, congratulate yourself for not gambling. You know, today I have a choice and all of that sort of thing. It's so painfully cliche, it becomes almost a phrase that we hear, but we never actually sort of ingest or digest because we're just so used to hearing it from people who maybe haven't actually experienced the depths of this addiction. They're not actually people who have lived and breathed and suffered the, slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Sorry to go all Shakespearean on you there. And they're preaching this to you, but just do one day at a time, and it just grates and it grates. And you know what? You know the thing that annoys me so much, the biggest annoyance, the biggest bugbear I have with this expression, one day at a time, the thing that really, really winds me up, it's bloody right. And that's so frustrating. It's so frustrating that something so trite, so cliche, so sanctimonious sounding can actually be correct. Let me elaborate a little bit. Whenever you start a new habit, or indeed quit a habit, so whether this be something like getting gambling out of your life, stopping drinking, stepping away from whatever recreational drugs you might use, you wish to some extent that you were 5 years into the future. It's the same as if you're building new habits, whether you're practicing a new sport or a new hobby, or you started going to the gym for the first time. You want to be that way down the line, a little bit way into the future, and experience it from the future you's self. No one wants to waddle into the gym on the first day, not knowing where the changing rooms are, not knowing how to use the machines, not having any kind of plan or routine, or knowing where all different weights and stuff are. No one wants to do that. You want to bowl into the gym, know exactly what you're doing, look in the part, feel in the part, crack on with your circuit or your plan, know what you're doing and walk out feeling like $1 million. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants to be that far down the road. If you want to quit gambling, you want to be 5 years into the future where you haven't gambled for 5 years. It hasn't crossed your mind in months. You've got your money back. You're settled. You're happy. You've built relationships. You've built new friendships. You've paid off all your debt. Everything's marvellous, right? That's where you want to be. Problem. You can't be. You can't be 5 years down the road today. It just simply isn't possible. And I'm not being, facetious saying that. But I've been in that place where I've gone, right, I'm going to quit gambling and I'm going to get better. And I'm going to be in this place. but you're not in that place. You're at day one. You're at step one. Sometimes some of the hardest steps are the earliest ones. All right? So we have to live one day at a time. We can't be that person in the future. But as the ancient Chinese proverb goes, which I'm going to butcher because I butcher every proverb I use on this channel, the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago. The second best time is now. And I hope I haven't butchered that too much. But the point is this. Yes, we do want to be in recovery in 5 years. Yes, we do want to have all the benefits that a long-term recovery has. In the same way that the person who's just starting the gym wants the physique, wants the fitness, wants to know what they're doing and feel like $1 million when they walk through those doors. They want to be in that place. But you can't be. Because you have to get there. And actually part of the joy, should I say, which is probably not the right word, of gambling recovery, is that you get lots of little wins along the way which help spur you on and motivate you to persist. Some of the benefits start to come through in the earlier stages, the medium stages, whatever. Weeks in, months in, a couple of years in, you'll start to see more and more advantages of your extended period of abstinence, your period of recovery, and that all forms part of the journey. Plus, you don't want to be wishing your life away. Yes, or I think we all wish that 5 years ago we'd stopped this bad habit or we'd started a better habit. But what we don't want to be is 5 years in the future, because then we're going to be 5 years old and we miss out on all the good things that could come in that interim period. So we have to take it one day at a time. And this is why recovery from gambling, whilst it's not easy, although it should be, as I'll explain in a moment, whilst it's not easy, is simple. All you have to do is get up in the morning, live your day, whatever that involves, work, seeing friends, family, whatever, doing stuff with the kids, get to the end of the day having not gambled, and then wake up the next day and do it again. It's so simple. In fact, it's almost, the antithesis of difficult, because you're not actually doing anything. All you effectively have to do is not do something for the day. And there's lots of things I don't do every day. So not gambling is incredibly straightforward. It's just a case of taking one day at a time and building a new habit that doesn't involve gambling. And it pains me to say that, because like I say, it sounds like the cliched advice you'd get from a therapist or someone who doesn't even know what living a day in the life of an addict is like. But it is incredibly straightforward. Jordan Peterson, who I have referenced a few times, but I think he's a very clever guy, whether you believe in his politics or not, he talks about tidying your room. Now, it's become a bit of a meme, a bit of a cliche, but the fact of the matter is there is an awful lot of common sense. There's a lot of logic in his argument. Your life is not going to transform from whatever position you're in. All right, it doesn't matter whether you're in you suffer from addiction. It doesn't matter whether you're, whatever position you're in, right, and you want to improve your lot. You can't always affect everything that you want to change straight away. In fact, it's almost impossible to affect every change you want to make straight away. So he talks about tidying your room, which basically is something you can do, both physically if your room's messy, but most importantly metaphorically. It's choosing something that you can do in the here and now that you have direct control over that will in some way improve your life. Anyone can go and tidy their room, and it will instantly make your life that little bit better. And it doesn't matter actually whether that's because you're trying to recover from addiction, or you're wanting to sort of build a business, or you're trying to escape from some form of toxic relationship. Doing something, anything you can do in the here and now to improve your life in even the smallest way is going to be far more effectual than visualising a future where you're 5 years down the line, 5 years into recovery, or 5 years into a new better habit, which you have no control over right this second. So just go and do something, anything. Now in gambling, of course, as I've spoken about many times, the best way to act in the here and now is to do something to prevent the future you from gambling should those urges arise, and they will. So go and put some blocks in place. Block gambling transactions on your card, self-exclude from your local bookies, all the stuff I talk about all the time. These are things that you can do in the here and now, which will be effectual and actually help the future you, further down the line. There are actual actions you can take. And that is far, far better. Doing something is always going to be far, far more effective in reaching your goals, and be that a goal of doing something or a goal of not doing something. It's going to be far more effective at reaching your goals than just sitting and thinking about the future and thinking and visualising positive things, which can be motivation to get into recovery in the first place. But motivation comes from action. You shouldn't wait to get motivated to go and do something. Just go and do something small, and that will help perpetuate the motivation to continue it. So do one day, do tomorrow, and then build on it and get more and more motivation to stick to it. Because if we sit here and we think about 5 years down the line, not only Are we setting unrealistic, immediate visions of self-improvement? Basically, we're setting a goal for ourselves that we can't achieve in a sort of rational timescale. What we're also doing is we are picturing a future far, far, ahead of us without gambling, without this thing that has become such an integral, ingrained, and such a significant part of our lives. And we're telling ourselves we can't do this. This is why I don't think it's a great idea to say, I can never gamble again. Because the idea of never gambling again, when you've been gambling probably every day or at least very regularly for the last, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever, becomes far, far daunting of a thing to even visualise. You can't imagine it. You can't imagine a life without gambling. In the same way that if you are an alcoholic and you drink every day, you drink heavily every day, to say, well, I can never have another drink. Surely the fact that, that is far too daunting to take on is got to be the reason why so many people lapse and relapse, because they simply feel that it's futile, it's hopeless. This thing is such a significant part of my life. If I can't ever do it again, then I might as well just carry on doing it and suffer the consequences, because I'm never going to manage it. So do something you can do about whatever today. Do take some small action, something that will help you in the future, and something which you can step back at the end of the day and be proud of. I'm not suggesting you have to have a big moment of reflection, looking in the mirror and going, yes, I'm brilliant, I tidied my room. But at the very least, when you do go to bed tonight, your room's tidy. And I think I'm still speaking metaphorically, or that has reminded me that I haven't made the bed, so I'll best go and do that in a minute. But before I leave you to go and do that, what I will do is explain why I believe that in some respects the abstinence from gambling should be easy. And I'm not saying it is, because like I'd said with the Katie Price metaphor earlier, I've had more lapses and relapses than you care to imagine. All right. Picture alcohol. In fact, I'm picturing a pint while I watch the football later, but that's by the by. All right. And my apologies in advance to anyone who suffers from alcohol addiction or alcoholism, because this won't obviously relate to you. I recently, as we all know, had a failed attempt to stop drinking for 100 days. I did a good few weeks and then failed because I didn't want it enough. It wasn't like gambling where I know I needed to stop and I really wanted to stop. I just thought I'd do it as a bit of a challenge to myself, and I got bored. Okay. And one thing I noticed, besides the fact that apparently I became a bit of an arrogant prick, a lot of you guys pointed out, so apologies retrospectively for that. Didn't even realise I was doing it, so maybe it's a good thing that I haven't decided to continue that. But anyway, one thing I did notice when I wasn't drinking is that everyone questions it. Why aren't you drinking? What you're not having a drink today, or you've got to go to the doctors or something, or you go to events, and so many events, particularly here in the UK, revolve around alcohol, don't they? Any celebration, any commiseration, whatever it is, you always toast with alcohol, you get served alcohol, and you normally relax and unwind with alcohol. Now, I'm not saying that's right, and I'm not saying that's the right culture and that everyone should rush out and start drinking if you're not. If you're teetotal and you're enjoying the benefits, and there are definitely benefits from not drinking, then great. Good luck to you, and I really, really admire anyone who does that as a choice. But the fact of the matter is if you quit drinking, you will be questioned about it, and you will be, rightly or wrongly, the odd one out. You will be the person. People don't ask people, why are you having a drink? People will ask you why you're not having a drink. It's a very strange situation. If you sit in the pub with a Coke while all your mates have got pints, people will ask you, well, why aren't you drinking? You go to a wedding reception, they will give you bubbly or champagne or prosecco, whatever it is, as part of the course. You're just given it. There is an assumption that you're going to be drinking, and you are the odd one out if you're not. Gambling, however, is far, far different. I've spoken on this channel many times about social occasions that I attended as a gambling addict, and how I would go to the pub with my mates, and they'd all be sitting around sort of chatting and drinking beer and talking about man things, cars, women, the transfer deadline day, whatever the cliched male conversations are about, chatting away, and they'll go, "Oh, where's Phil?" And typically they'll know where I am, because I'm the one being antisocial in the corner, playing the fruit machine, losing all my money, right? Not getting involved in the banter, horrible word, not getting involved in watching the football or any of the laughing and joking that's going on, absenting myself, being antisocial, being that odd one out. Now, in that instance, you, as the addict, as the person with this bad habit, are the odd one out. Nobody ever asks you, well, why aren't you having a bet? Why aren't you having a go on the fruit machine? Oh, go on, just have one acca. Nobody talks like that. There isn't this immediate assumption like there is with alcohol that you're going to be gambling. Quite to the contrary, if you are absenting yourself from a group situation where everyone's sitting around having a chat, they'll all ask you, well, why are you doing that? Why are you losing all your money? Why are you being an idiot? Right, so there isn't that barrier like there are to other negative behaviours that we form as adults, right? where there is an assumption that we will partake in these things. With gambling, there is almost an underwritten assumption that you won't do it. Gambling still, thankfully, despite the best efforts of all the gambling companies to continue to legitimise and promote it, which they have done to an extent, but it's still considered a vice. It's still considered something that is a mug's game, you know, and I've investigated that phrase many times, so let's not go down that rabbit hole. But the reason it should be easy is because there are no social stigma to not gambling in the same way there is a social stigma, rightly or wrongly, and I would suggest possibly wrongly, to not drinking. So that's basically me saying don't gamble rather than me saying go out and get pissed. All right, just to clarify. But anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll best go and make my bed and tidy my room. Stay safe, stay sane. If you want to support me, there'll be a Patreon link in the description below. Next time you see me, I'll hopefully have 5,000 subscribers and a much better haircut. Take it easy, guys. Speak to you soon. All the best.